Following right behind Marcus, I entered the dreary building, immediately confronted by a dusty staircase within. The path before us was dark, dirty, and every bit as eerie as one would think a midnight stroll in an unsavory neighborhood might be. Despite that, the staircase appeared to be maintained, or at least not dilapidated. Moreover, albeit faint, I could definitely see a light coming from below. A ring? What awaited us at the bottom of the staircase was an arena. In the centre was a boxing ring, and beyond there were grandstands, akin to those I'd seen in football stadiums. Despite the massive size of the venue before us, there was only a few other people present at all, mulling around near the top of the grandstands. The lights remained dim, and for all intent and purposes, Marcus and I were essentially alone. So what do you think? Pretty impressive, huh? That's one word for it, but what the hell is an arena like this doing down here? I believe the word you're looking for is stadium or ring. Anyway, what else could it be? Events like this can't take place out in the open, you know, not in Richmond. Events like these, it's just a boxing ring, right? In a way. Interested? In boxing? I'm not a fan of watching sports, but come to think about it, just wait a little longer, another 5 minutes, and this place will be open to the public. Then you can tell me if you're interested in bashing skulls for a living. While Marcus and I hung around the bottom of the dark stairwell, an entrance apparently reserved for staff, spectators began to storm in from between the grandstands. Hundreds, if not thousands of spectators flooded the grandstands, soon filling the arena, which had been empty only a minute ago. The grandstands were filled, the ringing, fighters, and best of all, the betting began. Holy crap, look at all that money. Just how much are these people betting? Despite being so far away from the action, I could clearly see stocks of money changing hands. Spectators practically threw money at the staff taking bets, growing all the more excited as the fighters for the first match began warming up. Figures you jump straight to that. Yes, there is that side of the business, and yes, a lucky man can make himself a small fortune down here. But competing is where the real money is, and there aren't any rules against betting on yourself either. So let me ask you again, are you interested? Interested in this kind of money? Absolutely. But as far as competing goes, I'm giving a choice to this, really? Actually, Marcus does have a point. If I learned how to fight professionally, then proceed to battle myself, I could make a lot of money. I would also give me an outlet, somewhere to vent my frustration rather than on unsuspecting victims like Modoi. But that's the best case scenario. Realistically, I might not even land a hit on my opponent, let alone prove proficient enough to profit from a career in boxing. I could just end up broken and broke, worse off than ever. Maybe, but I'd rather find a more stable source of income. You're a loss. But that's how you feel, then I suggest you set your sights on the man above the grandstand to your left. Despite our poor vantage point, I did as Marcus suggested and gazed towards the grandstand to the left of the boxing ring. Above the grandstand was a glass panel, a viewing booth with a single shadow being cast from within. Behind that bulletproof glass is the owner of this fine establishment, Mr. Karasu. Impress him and you can make a comfortable living without ever setting foot inside the ring. Now that is worth noting. A place like this must rank it in. I'd be foolish not to try and get in on something like this. Make a living how? What kind of business does he run? Forget I said anything. Let's just make a silly bet between friends, okay? Who do you think will win this next match? Macho Man or Little Jap? With both fights for the next match already center stage, I could clearly tell who Marcus was referring to. Before us were two men in their 30s, one in blue trunks and one in red. Before us were two men in their 30s, one in blue trunks and one in red. In blue was a male. From my position, he appeared to be at least 6 foot tall, with the shoulder width to match his impressive stature. His opponent seemed to be a head short, a Japanese man with a slim build, probably a martial artist of some variety. Macho Man? I'll take Macho Man. I'd rather not make a bet with Marcus, but I guess it can't hurt if there aren't any stakes. Alright then, I guess the drop is mine. With our bets having been placed, neither one of us said a word as we waited for the match to begin. Even if we wanted to talk, it took enough concentration to simply observe from such a distance, let alone speak. If not for their significant distance in stature, I doubt I'd even be able to tell the fighters apart. The instant the bell rang, the outcome had already been decided. In a split second, the massive man swiped his opponent's leg, sending him to the floor. He then threw his legs around the Japanese man's arm, pushing against his elbow like a lever as he threatened to snap. Ah! The Japanese man cried in pain, his arm bent backwards at the elbow. But his screams were overpowered by the crowd, who shouted for blood, spearing on the giant he had been pitted against. "Get him, boy, give!" The man in blue paid no heed to his opponent's pleas for mercy. Even as the Japanese man cried in pain, faltering without hesitation, the giant continued to unabated, glaring at his opponent without even giving a hint of sympathy. Despite how overwhelmingly one-sided the fight proved to be, the crowd continued to cheer, seemingly more interested in seeing blood than a match. And so in response to the lust for violence, the man happily carried out his job. The sound of the Japanese man's arm being snapped in two, was silenced by the crowd, most of whom went quiet as the echo reached their ears. Medical staff rushed into the ring, carrying the fallen fighter out post-haste, and gamblers lined up to collect their payouts, leaving the remainder of those present in shock and awe. I guess the match is yours. Not that I really consider that much of a match. Marcus tried to speak to me, but whatever he had to say, I wasn't interested in. Even after the match ended, my mind was in the ring, replaying the scene that had transpired mere moments ago. I could feel the blood drain from my face, even more the decisive moment, at which point there wasn't a single hair on my body not standing on end. Marcus dragged me here with the promise of money, making it sound like my worries were over. A legal job, one in which I could act violently and make money from doing so. Boxing fit that description, and for the moment there, I could even see myself wearing boxing gloves and trunks, duking it out with some other money-hungry athlete. But what I just saw, whatever it was, that was not happening. Marcus couldn't possibly be expecting me to get in the ring like that, getting my legs broken for his sadistic boss's amusement. I may be desperate, but no sum of money is worth that. After the loss of the spectators and staff members had left the stadium, only two fighters lingered in the underground lair. Hidden behind the thick glass, watching the match from afar, the duo began to wind down as the night festivities came to a close. Phew! What a night. I can't remember the last time I watched a fight live. Were they always this gruesome? The pairings are usually more balanced. There's no profit in matches with obvious outcomes after all. Usual, as in not tonight. Do you have to ask? You specifically requested that we screw with the pairs so that different weight classes would fight one another. I did. That doesn't sound like me. Well, you didn't put it quite like that. You want to find someone lean, fast and strong, right? Someone who could punch above their weight class. Ah, right. But isn't this selection method a bit counterproductive? Why are you asking me? It was your idea. Oh, I see. Well, scratch that. There has to be less costly methods, right? Yes, sir. I'll start spreading word that we're recruiting, and I'll keep your criteria in mind. No, you can't pin this one on me. It's your criteria. Sigh. I wouldn't have a clue what to look for. Very well, I'll pass on my criteria, and expand the recruitment drive to include younger fighters. Even then, it might take a while. Finding someone capable is only half the battle. The real challenge is finding someone who are not only emotionally and mentally stable, but also desperate for money. And ruthless enough to kill for it. Chapter 2. Sadistic.